Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session. So our today's session is on Krishna, whether he is an avatar, a devta, or an angel. So this is our archangel, our archangel meditation series. So everyone is very welcome. So we'll just go straight into the talk. My name is Sheetal Jhunjhunwala, for those of you who are joining new. So today we're going to talk about this, Krishna, an angel, a deva, or an avatar. And of course, we're going to talk about, of course, what is the difference between all of these, right? So we hear about these terms interchangeably sometimes. So I prepared this little chart. So for those of us who have been here before, you have seen some parts of this. So according to Theosophy, there are all these levels. So starting from 1 going up to 9. And in the angelic hierarchy, which we covered a few weeks ago, we have the angels going up to the seraphims. So I've highlighted some of these because these are the ones we're going to be talking about today. Again, in the context of Krishna, is he an avatar, an angel, or a deva? Okay, so as you can see, the first one where it says Sotapanna, and when the angelic hierarchy, it says angels, right? So basically, angels are beings that occur in the planet. They are part of the planetary system, and actually beyond the planetary system as well. Now, they are energy beings that don't usually have a physical body. Okay. Now, this does not mean that they cannot take a physical body. They can take a physical body if they so choose to, but usually they just prefer to remain in the energy world. They function as what we call devas and angels are entities who function as heavenly guides, protectors, and messengers to the human beings. Okay, so that's what the function of the devas is. Now, moving on, the second one is the archangels. Now, the archangels are basically more evolved beings, and they are involved with handling the angels and the devas. So what does that mean for us? That basically means that today, for example, when we're doing the archangel meditation, we are basically going to be invoking the archangels to come and protect us and to protect our home. Okay. Now, this being the Pranic Healing School or rather influenced by the Pranic Healing School by Master Choco Sui, you will find constant references to practical things. So most of our sessions are going to be practical in nature, which means that we're not just going to talk about angels or avatars. We're also going to talk about how they are relevant to us and how we need to take some action towards that particular, status, if I may call it that, or that office. Okay. Now going down, number 3 is, if you look at the angelic hierarchy, there are principalities. Now principalities are basically angels that are in charge of large areas, large geographical areas of countries, of systems. After that, number 4, in the Theosophy column, we have something called the Arhat or the Paramhansa. Now, you may have heard, for example, of Paramhans Yogananda. So we're going to be discussing the book God Talks with Arjuna by Paramhans Yogananda from tomorrow, every Sunday. For now, we're going to talk about Arhat. So this again being influenced by the school of pranic healing and Arhatic yoga. And Arhat is what we are trying to become when we are doing Arhatic yoga. Okay, so those of us who are here who have done Arhatic yoga or who want to, that's where we're headed. We are headed to becoming a Paramhamsa or a number 4 on this particular chart. So as you may have noticed that in Arhatic yoga we have different kinds of meditations, and a Paramhamsa is one who is called, it's like Paramhamsa, so first among Hamsas, so first among the swans, which means that this particular entity, which is hopefully sometime going to be us also, we're going to get there, is also a higher level of being compared to, according to this chart, the archangels, the angels, and the devas. Okay, the reason I point this out is, again, this is my understanding of Theosophy and my understanding of the angelic hierarchy. I could be completely wrong. So take everything that I say with a view of discussion, with a view of that this is my thought, this is my understanding. And if you find some mistakes, then make sure you point them out to me. The idea is to study together and to learn together and to grow together. Okay. Okay, moving on. So after that, we have item number 5. So in the Theosophy area, you see that it says the Ascended Masters or the Holy Masters. So according to our understanding that when Master Choco Sui, left the body in 2007, he was already a holy master. So which means that those of us who actually physically saw him, we were in the presence of a holy master. And those of us who didn't are now guided by a holy master. So either way, we are fortunate. Okay. Now in the angelic hierarchy, if you see, there's something called the virtues. So to me, this is very interesting because the virtues are taught in Arhatic Yoga. In Arhatic Yoga, we have a system called character building where we talk about the the 5 virtues. And in the angelic hierarchy, there is, what should I say, a type of entity whose name is virtues. So the virtues we talk about in character building, for example, are loving kindness and non-injury. Then we talk about generosity and non-stealing. Then we talk about honesty and non-lying. Then we talk about constancy of aim and effort. And the 5th one is moderation and non-lying. So these are all virtues that we talk about in line number 4, where we talk about becoming an arhat. By the time you are done mastering those virtues, probably we become a virtue. Now, this is not just this is not just a chart for like someone out there. This is a chart for us. Okay, this is a chart for you and me. This is for us to guide us through this entire spiritual path. That's the purpose of this. Okay. So the exciting part, of course, is the avatar part, right? So we're getting there. The next is the lords and the Chauhans. So if you may have noticed that sometimes we refer to Krishna as Lord Krishna. And at some point later, we refer to him as the avatar Krishna. So again, it is my understanding that when a great being is born, they are born at a certain level of development because they're already at that level of development. So perhaps when the Lord Krishna was born, at that point, he was not yet an avatar. I don't know. This is just, again, I'm just looking at this chart and putting things together. By the time he left his body, he was an avatar. Okay. Now, there is also one theory that, one of our leaders, Shriram Rajagopal mentioned yesterday in one of the study sessions is that according to some of the books that the soul or the entity who manifested or who incarnated as Jesus had previously incarnated as the Lord Krishna. Okay. So we'll talk about that also. Okay. So number 7 is the avatar. And beyond that is the Buddha. So then you also have the Gautam Buddha, for example, and there are many other Buddhas. So sometimes when we pray or when we do blessings, you may have heard us talk about the Buddha Kuan Yin. Okay. Beyond that is the Sanat Kumar. Sanat Kumar is the one who kind of, guides the whole planet. And in the angel hierarchy, there is Seraphim. So for this particular chart, this is what I wanted to cover. Of course, we've covered some of these other things in more detail in our other sessions. But anyway, so why are we talking about all of this? We're talking about all of this because we're trying to understand, the topic, which is, was Krishna a Deva, an avatar, an angel? So if you just go back a little bit, he was probably beyond an angel. He was probably beyond a Deva. As you can see, he's quite up there on the list, which is, up there in the sense that he's more evolved, as in he is an avatar. Okay, he is generally considered an avatar. Now, there are many other avatars, right? We've heard about Rama, we've heard about Krishna, we've heard about Buddha, we've heard about Jesus, and we are waiting for the next avatar to come, who is also called Kalki or Maitreya. Okay. So if you look at the timing, and this is just interesting, I'm not sure to what extent this is true, but sometimes when I look at this chart, I'm like, is this possibly the same entity or the same being? Now, I don't know this. I have not read this anywhere. This is just my thought. So again, why is it important? Why would I think in this particular manner? I think in this particular manner because of this particular diagram. As you can see, it is called the Great Year and the Avatars. So this is drawn from a book called The Existence of God by Master Chokhok Sui, in which he references Sri Yukteswar Giri, who was a very evolved soul. And there's a picture of Yukteswar Giri down at the bottom over there. And he basically talks about something called the Great Year. And he kind of deciphers the yugas. So there's Satyug, there's Treta Yug, there's Dwarpa Yug, there's Kali Yug, and then there is again Kali Yug, Dwarpa Yug, Treta Yug, and Satyug. Again, why is this relevant to us? So if you look at the diagram, 1, 2, 3. If you look at the 6th column, I've created a list called the avatars. So again, this is drawn from the book Existence of God by Master Chokhok Sui. So in the time of Satyug, at some point, there was an avatar by the name of Narasimhan. And the symbol was the lion. So if you look again to the second column, you can see that the constellation in charge at that time, or the constellation that was throwing its energy onto our system, was Leo. So that's something to keep in mind. So just make a mental note of that. And let's go on. If you go down further, where you see it's written Lord Rama in the 7th column of the avatars, that was the higher mental age, or the Treta Yuga. Now, if you look carefully, it was in the time of the Gemini. So what is Gemini? Gemini is basically twins, right? So if you think of the story of the Ramayana, there is, there's Rama and there's Lakshman, his younger brother. And then there are his children, Lava and Kush. So it is believed that the symbols, or the twins, actually symbolize the fact that at that point we were in the influence of the constellation of Gemini. Okay. Now the corresponding opposite side, if you look at the bottom, was Sagittarius. Now Sagittarius is symbolized by half human and half animal. And it's also symbolized by a bow and arrow, right? So again, Lord Rama often carried a bow and an arrow. Okay. I hope you find this interesting so far. I just love this chart. So I hope you find it interesting too. Anyway, so moving on. So before we go further down and we come to Krishna. Now, Krishna, as you can see, according to this chart, incarnated in Dwapara Yuga, which is the lower mental age, which basically means that the capacity, the mental capacity of the planet, or of all the people on the planet, has actually come down. So in the golden age, people understand energy, people understand God, they're all one with God, there is more oneness with God. But as the age changes, then the mental capacity of the humans begins to decline. And in Kali Yuga, it just becomes really, really low. But don't need to fret, because this is called the great year. So like other years, it is going to come again, and it's going to come again, and it's going to come again. Okay, so there's always going to be another cycle. Okay, so talking about Krishna. So according to this chart, Krishna was incarnated around the period of -700 BC. Now, if we also take the timing of the Mahabharata, this is also the timing of the Mahabharata, which we'll talk about in our Sunday sessions on the Bhagavad Gita, energetically speaking. Okay, so again, if you look on the symbol is cows and bulls. So Krishna, as you remember, was always talked about as a shepherd. So he would be taking care of the cows, and he was a cowherd, right? Okay, now going further down, we have Gautama Buddha, we have Jesus, again in that period of what is called Kali Yuga. So it is believed that this particular same soul, perhaps, who was Krishna in the lower mental age in Dwapara Yuga, reincarnated as Jesus. And then there was also reincarnated as the Gautama Buddha in about 326 BC. And then again, there was a need to reincarnate after 300 years to help humanity handle Kali Yuga. Okay, now again, no need to fret about it, because what happens is that there is there's a descending cycle, which means that there's Satyug, then there's Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and then there's the bottom. Okay, the bottom was, according to this chart, on 499 AD was the bottom. That was the Kali Yuga bottom. Then there is an ascending cycle. So now we are in the ascending cycle, thank God. And we are going up towards the mental age, the lower mental age. And hopefully as time goes on, we'll go on further and further. And then the cycle will be complete, and then it'll go around again. Okay. Okay. So as we said, angels and devas are entities that function to act as heavenly guides, protectors. Now going back, when the avatar comes, the avatar has a larger function. The avatar has a function of actually taking care of the large part of the planet. Same with the Buddha. And then the Sanat Kumar, of course, is in charge of the planet to a large extent. Okay, so again, going back to our topic, was Krishna an angel? No, probably. Was at some point. Is he a deva? Probably not. The devas we will talk about in our next session, which is next week. We will talk about the devas who helped Kunti give birth to 6 children, 5 of whom are known as the Pandavas. So we will talk about that in one of the following sessions. But that is the function of the devas. So the devas actually are the first round. So it's the angels and the devas. Of course, there are higher devas and there are lower devas. Okay. Okay, so with that, we are now going to move on to the archangels. So the archangels, like we said, are heavenly beings. They are entities who can be with any number of people at any time. So we can invoke the archangels to be with us. There are several archangels that are mentioned in Christianity, and we talked about several of them in one of our sessions. So you can go back and look at our YouTube videos if you're interested in that. So that's it. That's all I had to say about this. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box and we will try to answer them. So there's a question on the chat box, which is that it is Lord Krishna an avatar of Vishnu? And another question is, what is the connection between Krishna, Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu and Maitreya? So it is, again, my understanding based on this, some part based on this book, The Existence of God is Self-Evident, where Master Choksui talks about the three aspects of God. Okay, there is God Shiva, who is the destroyer and the restorer. Then there is God Vishnu, who is the preserver. There is God Brahma, who is the creator. Okay. Then in the other faiths, let's say, for example, in Islam, it is called Allah al-Khaliq, Allah al-Wadud, and Allah al-Muqtadir. And in the Christian tradition, this is called the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Okay. So yes, all avatars come from Lord Vishnu. Why Vishnu? Because Lord Vishnu is, among the three aspects, Lord Vishnu is the love aspect of God, which means that love means to provide, love means to preserve. Okay, this is again coming from Master Cho's books. So all avatars, when they descend onto earth, when they decide to take up a body and actually come down to earth and live with us, they are, one, subject to the law of karma, and B, they definitely come from Vishnu, who is the avatar, who is the love aspect of God. So most avatars, all avatars in this time period are believed to come from the Lord Vishnu. Okay. Now, as far as Lord Maitreya is concerned, Lord Maitreya is considered to be the second coming of the Christ, according to some books. According to some books, he's considered to be the 10th avatar of Vishnu in this time period. So there are many time periods. There are chains, there are rounds. You can read about that in the book called The Solar System by Arthur Powell, where he talks about the evolution of the planet, the evolution of the moon, the evolution of the solar system, and a whole lot of other things that honestly we don't understand fully, but it's interesting to read and it's definitely interesting to know, because when we when we know about these things, we can appreciate some of our own scriptures. So there's also a book by Master Choksui called Hinduism Revealed, where he talks about a lot of the Hindu gods and what they mean and how to interpret the teachings that are there in them. So that's called Hinduism Revealed by Master Choksui. Okay, so today's session was on the avatar of Krishna. And one of the beauties I feel of the Krishna avatar is that he came at a time when the earth was descending towards Kali Yuga, because right at the time of the Mahabharata. And so Krishna is one of those gods who has a maternal aspect of love, because as there's a child Krishna, then there's the young man Krishna, the lover Krishna, and then there is the king to some extent, of Dwarka, the winner of battles, and of course the guide to Arjun in the Mahabharata. So Krishna, to me, in one sense, is a very versatile kind of avatar, where you can kind of like love him in any form that you wish, right? So that's what I feel is one of the uniquenesses of the Krishna avatar. Okay, so I hope that was enjoyable, and we will see you soon at our next session.